Good afternoon. The service for the celebration of the life of Michael Joseph Jakubisin begins on page 2 of your service booklet. A reading from Psalm 139. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from far away. You search out my path and my lying down and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, O Lord, you know it completely. You hem me in, behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is so high that I cannot attain it. Where can I go from your spirit, or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and night wraps itself around me, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light to you. For it was you who formed my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. That I know very well. I'd like to welcome you all to St. Richard's Episcopal Church this afternoon for this service. My name is the Reverend Harry Coverston, and I will be conducting this service today. Our service continues on page 3 of your service booklet. Morning has broken. Just for those of you who are baby boomers like me, you've heard this before, but not like this. Cat Stevens actually took it from the hymnal and recorded it and made it popular, so we're going to sing it now. Would you please stand? A eulogy for a fellow seeker. I'd like to thank Linda and her family for asking me to lead this service today. It is an interesting venture to offer some thoughts about the life of a man I really didn't know, but who I wish I had. I met Mike Jakubisin a couple of times in passing, But sadly, I never got the opportunity to know him very well, and I'm very clear that was my loss. In the beautiful obituary his family has put together for him, they describe him as possessed of a quiet strength, steadfast loyalty, humility, and love. I'm struck by how a quiet strength and humility are commodities that are in desperately rare supply today, particularly among the holders of power in our world and in our religious institutions. I resonate here with a kindred spirited man whose curiosity prompted a belief that uncertainty could be the pathway to deeper spirituality. And as a third-order Franciscan, whose spirituality is deeply Celtic, I shared his great joy in nature and quiet beauty. I think Mike and I would have had a lot to talk about. Now, ironically, it was at the Center for Action and Contemplation in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and its Living School, that our paths actually crossed unknowingly. Directed by fellow Franciscan Richard Rohr, the Living School was a 3-year commitment to reflect on the thoughts of the great mystics of human history and to learn and practice meditation that allowed us to sink deeply into the very essence of the holy, found within us, around us, emerging from the good creation, and yet ultimately beyond human constructions of space and time. The Living School excavated the spirituality of thinkers throughout the Christian tradition who offered a viable alternative to the dogmatic teachings of the institutional church that so many of us find untenable. And my guess is that for Mike, like myself, his life was never the same after those 3 years. I believe our world is a better place because of Mike's presence in it. And I believe the path he blazed is worth following. Quiet strength, steadfast loyalty, humility, selfless love, a seeker at heart, leading a life with curiosity in which uncertainty, not rigid dogmatic assertions or a certitude that denies complexity, form a pathway to a deep spirituality. Like I said, as I learned who this man was, I found myself sad I never got to know him. If there's anything that I am, an outsider here, and that I have learned from this encounter, it is that I need to be more conscious of those around me, more willing to extend myself to those I don't yet know, more open to what strangers might offer me in my pathway to a deeper spirituality, because I know I have much yet to learn. And even in death, Mike is still a teacher. And for his lesson this day, I am grateful. I'd like to close with a quote from our beloved teacher at the Living School, Richard Rohr. I think it speaks to what I'm trying to get at here. Richard said, "Death is not just the death of the physical body, but all the times we hit bottom and must let go of how we thought life should be and surrender to a larger power. And in that sense, we all probably go through many deaths in our lifetime. These deaths to the small self are tipping points, opportunities to choose transformation early. Now, unfortunately, most people turn bitter and look for someone to blame, so their death is indeed death for them because they close down to growth and new life. But if you do choose to walk through the depths, even the depths of your own shadow, you will come out the other side, knowing you've been taken there by a source larger than yourself. Surely this is what it means to be saved. That doesn't mean you are any better than anyone else or will be whisked off to heaven. It means you've allowed and accepted the mystery of transformation here and now, and as now, so later. Rest in peace, my fellow seeker. Amen.
Thank you all for coming. My family's here for 1 week from Rochester, so I'm going to say y'all as often as I can until we fly back. And thank you for joining us as we mourn the loss and celebrate the life of Michael Jakubisin. For those of you who don't know, I'm Yannick, Mike's eldest child and his favorite son. From here on out, I'll refer to him as I knew him, Dad. My dad was many things to many people. First and foremost, he was a son, a husband, a father, and a grandfather. He was an educator, a friend, a mentor, a neighbor. He was a boss, an employee, a colleague, and a volunteer. He possessed a deep love for God, nature, and humanity, and he did his utmost to install these loves in his children. Though he will be sorely missed, I don't want to fixate on the loss. As difficult as it is at times, I'd like to focus on the positive. I want to be grateful for the warm presence he brought to my life, my family's life, and the lives of so many he held dear. When I was a boy, my dad would walk by me lying on the couch and tousle my hair. As a child, I loved the affection. In my late teen years, he would continue this trend, and I must say, I resented it. I found it to be infantilizing, but I kept my mouth shut. As a young man, I did not keep my mouth shut, and I would actively move my head to the side so that he wouldn't be able to treat me as a child. Roughly 5 years ago, after the birth of my daughter, Amelie Wren, my family and I visited my parents in Nashville. There I lay with infant daughter on my chest, and my dad passed by us slowly, tousled my hair, and in that moment I knew that I had been deeply mistaken, that it was the adoration and love for his son rather than any gesture of infantilization that he tried to express. And from that moment on, every single time Dad tousled my hair, I let him, and I felt the warmth that had always been there that I was not always ready to receive. These times of tussle parallel my own relationship to my father. As a boy, I deeply loved him and I sought his affections. As a young man, I resented him for what I perceived to be his shortcomings and because he could be hard on me. Make no mistake, he did have shortcomings and he could be very hard on me, just as I have shortcomings and was very hard on him at times. But with the birth of my daughter and the embrace of a woman who loves me, I softened my stance as he had done before me. My dad and I shared the father-son love that was always there, but at times we did not always feel. As Providence would have it, we shared a moment 5 weeks ago, which I view as a culmination of our time together. Home alone after a long, stressful, difficult day at work, I received a call from my dad, and we talked for probably about 45 minutes. At one point, he alluded to some of his perceived shortcomings, and I quickly interjected. I told him that any shortcomings that had been long forgiven, and I was proud to call him my father. I've been thinking that for some time, but didn't have the courage to tell him, and I'm very fortunate and grateful that I did that day. Then and now, this interaction means the world to me, and it's how I remember him. Not as a perfect man, but as a good man. At times he faltered as I falter, and yet he strove every day to do better by those around him. I love you, Dad, and I'm so proud of you. May you rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
I'm gonna do my best to laugh so I can get through this. I'm Mia, Mike's middle child, and my dad always thought it was funny that I would pick up and fly across the world and live in China for a year, but the thought of public speaking instantly makes my stomach hurt. But I'm really excited to tell you about my dad. Thank you all so much for being here with us to remember, celebrate, and honor my dad and those who are joining from all over the world online, from Germany and the Netherlands and elsewhere. We are so grateful that you're bearing witness to our loss and to celebrate the great memory of our dad with us. My heart aches not only at the loss of my dad, but at the sudden nature of his death, robbing us all the opportunity to properly say goodbye. And I'm so grieved that I didn't get the chance to have an intentional conversation before he passed. So I'd like to take the opportunity now to tell you about my dad from my perspective, some of the things that I would have shared with him and thanked him for, and trust that somehow in his spirit he's receiving my message of love and gratitude today. Our family life was far from perfect growing up, as any of our family members would tell you. We went through our fair share of hard times and heartaches, yet I believe the words that Paul wrote in the book of Romans is true for our family, that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. My dad showed me this. Through the ups and downs of life, my parents never failed to keep their eyes on us and on creating a loving, strong, and steady family bond as best as they knew how. The connectedness of our family today is a testament to the almost 40 years of marriage and the 30-plus years my parents dedicated to us, relentlessly pursuing relationship and connectedness with us. It's been messy at times and called for apologies from all of us, but I'm so grateful that they modeled what it was like to be ever growing, ever learning, humble enough to apologize, and open to seeing things from our perspective. I've heard from so many people this past week and a half, my age, about conversations they had, even just in passing with my dad, how they felt heard and seen and enjoyed sharing ideas with him. It's been a theme since he was a young adult that he sought out younger generations as much to mentor as to learn and grow himself. I realize now what a gift it was that my dad was willing to listen, willing to change his mind, willing to be wrong. I believe that in humility, he really understood that the more you know that you don't know. My natural inclination is towards black and white thinking, so as a child, I remember thinking my dad knew everything and whatever he said was the truth and that was it. So when I saw him start to question or expand his own understanding about anything at all, it scared me at first. I didn't want to change anything I believed. I wanted to have found the answers early on and never have to re-examine anything. It took years for me to see the gift he actually gave me, a lesson that I've really needed in my adult life. Thank you, Dad, for teaching me to be open to expanding my views, learning from those around me, and seeing the world, God, and the sacred in new ways. As a parent myself now, I see so much of my dad and our family life. And I'm so grateful that his legacy will live on through the family that my husband, Zach, and I have built. Zach shares many interests with my dad, which was just such a delight to my dad. And so his influence is easy to carry on. For example, some of the memories that stand out most to me in our childhood are the many outdoor adventures we took with our family. We often had guests from Germany, the Netherlands, or elsewhere, and rather than doing touristy things, we explored natural Florida. Some of our favorite places to visit include De Leon Springs, where our family has made hundreds, if not thousands, of pancakes over the years. The Wekiva River, where we swam and canoed and always stunned guests with our close proximity to alligators. Our annual Thanksgiving hike, which often took place along the Ekon-Lakachi River, and trips to the Orlando wetlands. The wetlands means a lot to our family because it's a place our dad spent many hours volunteering in his retirement, both giving tours and greeting visitors at the Welcome Center. Some of my favorite memories there include a sunrise bike ride my dad and I did one spring break when I was home from college, and more recently getting to take my two oldest and my niece there to get a tour from their OPA and see where he works. I look forward to showing it to my youngest, August, one day and telling him about his OPA. And if you've never been, now is a really good time to go to see if you can spot a Rosetta spoonbill, which when I looked it up, I think it's actually called a roseate spoonbill. I've always called it a Rosetta spoonbill, so I don't know if that's me or my dad or what. but that's our favorite bird to look out for in the winter months. This Christmas, my in-laws gave us a tent, and we've been eagerly anticipating our first family camping trip, which will be difficult not to be able to tell my dad about, the one who gave me a love of camping in the first place, but he would be so delighted to hear about my kids' camping experience. And I'll have plenty of stories to share with them around the fire when the time comes. Another gift my dad gave us is the gift of reading. My dad always had a line from a poem to fit any occasion, a book to give us he thought we might like. My parents both spent countless hours reading to us when we were little, and then to my kids too. I will really miss hearing my dad read to my kids, and I will never stop telling them how much their Opa loved to read to them. I look forward to introducing my kids as they get older to some of our family favorites that he read aloud to us, like the Chronicles of Narnia, A Series of Unfortunate Events, and of course, the classic Harry Potter series. On a related note, something I'm so grateful to my parents for was having the instinct to limit our screen time before that was really a thing. And of course, when we were kids, the only screen available was the TV. But in our house, from when I was little to this day, we had one TV, and it was behind a TV cabinet. And I didn't realize it at the time, but that taught me that in our family, the TV was not the center of family life, and choosing to watch it should be intentional, which is a value that my family holds now. One of my favorite recent stories about my dad involves the TV cabinet. They didn't have, I think I'm getting this story right, Mom, they didn't have space for it, so they got rid of it when they moved to Nashville. But they wanted one when they moved back, and so my dad, let's see. They're probably hard to come by now. I don't know many people in the market for a little TV cabinet. But my dad, always able to find the best deals on Facebook Marketplace, found a beautiful piece, measured it to make sure his TV would fit, brought it home. But he didn't account for the fact that the doors, when they opened, slid into the side. So the TV was slightly too big. And when he told me that, I thought, what a bummer that he lost all that money. Nobody's going to buy a TV cabinet back from him. But my dad's solution was to sell the TV and buy a smaller one to fit his TV cabinet. But my family didn't mind, because it's still a treat for my kids to watch Mr. Rogers or National Geographic at their house, as it's still bigger than the laptop we watch at our house, since in true Jakubisin fashion, we don't have a TV at all in our house. There are so many things I want to tell you about what it was like to be my dad's daughter. The way he was always so proud of us, thought our ideas were brilliant and worth listening to. The way he planned family trips and gave us enriching experiences traveling even without a huge budget. How he and my mom both sparked in me the love of bike riding, taking us on bike tours wherever we went. How when people ask what it was like to have my dad as my high school principal, I tell them it was actually pretty good. It's how convenient to have your dad at school any second you might need him, and also have everyone you know and love him. Lucky for us, he was truly a beloved principal. The countless messages we're getting from former students, colleagues, and families is a testament to that. And if you ever wondered if we got special treatment because we were his kids, the answer is yes. We got especially strict treatment so as to ensure we were held to the highest standard and no one could accuse us of getting special treatment. My dad gave me the one and only detention I ever got in high school. One day I wasn't feeling well, so I went to his office to find him to ask if I could get his car keys and drive home early. But he wasn't in his office, so I went to the bathroom and called him on my cell phone, and he was just walking up. So I met him in his office, and he said, "Sure, here's the keys. You can drive yourself home." But before I left, he said, "Oh, and I'm gonna need your phone because you used it during school hours." At that time, I don't know what the rules are now. We couldn't use them during the day at all. I thought he was joking, but sure enough, I was having lunch with Dean Labadie the next day. And you can ask my mom how she felt about it, because she had to drive up to the school to retrieve my phone from the upper school director. I have a million more stories and thoughts to share about the profound influence my dad had on me, my family, and everyone he encountered, but I can't go on forever. But before I conclude, I have to share about the biggest gift my dad gave me in my adult life. and that was being open to my 3 kids. If you talked with either my dad or me in recent years, you would have heard my dad talk about my kids probably more than anyone would be interested in hearing. And you would have heard me talk about how I don't know how people do it without family nearby, because my parents helped me more than I could ever explain. In the suddenness of his death, the fear that I have had is that I didn't tell him enough how lucky I was, how rare his gift was, and how much we appreciated him as the Opa to our kids. So I want to make sure that everyone knows. Most of you probably already know that my parents moved to Nashville in the summer of 2020, just a few weeks before my daughter Juniper was born. My husband was beginning his neonatology fellowship, and I was teaching full-time, and my parents wanted to provide full-time childcare for us, for my daughter, which is something I never asked for, but they came to us and offered. To be honest, I didn't actually expect that much from my dad in the baby years. I knew my mom, the retired preschool teacher, would be in her element, and kind of assumed she would be the engaged grandparent, because my dad was always so good with older students. I'd never really seen him with babies or young kids. But from the first day of my daughter's life, the first day my dad became a grandpa, he stepped wholly and completely into the role. From changing diapers to giving bottles, getting down on the floor for tummy time, and keeping up with my demanding and ever-changing nap schedule, my dad did it all. As Juniper got older, he was always looking for new experiences to share with her. He always had a new park to explore. All the best playgrounds I've ever been to were ones my dad found. He took her to live music events in Nashville or a nature preserve to check out. He's been just as engaged and excited about my sons, Oaks and August. And though my mom has always been my first call when I need help with school pickup or putting a child down for a nap, if she wasn't available, she would always say, "Call your dad, he's available," and he was willing and able and more than happy to help. It was such a gift to me to know that I could trust my dad to babysit all of my kids, and more than that, it was his joy to do so. I will really miss getting a call out of the blue from my dad, asking things like, "Has Juniper ever been to Krispy Kreme to watch the donuts get made, and if not, can I take her?" Or just a few weeks ago, he had to run up to the wetlands to drop something off and called last minute to see if he could take Juniper with her. I was just asking her a few days ago about that trip, and she told me all about how many alligators they saw, and my dad was always doing more dangerous things than I was comfortable with. She said he put her on the ledge of the boardwalk to walk, and she was nervous at first, but he held her hand, and she went faster and faster and had a lot of fun. One of my favorite memories will forever be when Yannick's family was visiting a little over a year ago, and he brought my daughter and niece to the backyard. He told them he had gone outside the night before to look at the moon and heard some fairies giggling behind this big plant against their fence in their backyard. And he wasn't sure, but he thought maybe they had a little secret hideout back there. Sure enough, the girls ran to look, found a magical hideout complete with a table, fairy lights, and a craft for them to do. And this whole setup was completely between my dad and the fairies. It makes me smile every time I remember it. He was always thinking about the kids, always looking for ways to create magical memories for them, and always endlessly delighting in them. It's a great sorrow that my kids were robbed of more time with their Opa, yet we will continue his legacy through telling stories, reading the books and poetry he loved, visiting places special to him, listening to his favorite songs, and carrying on his example of quiet and intentional love and care for those around us. I love you, Dad. Thank you.
My name is Emily. I am Mike's third and youngest child. And I just want to begin by thanking you so much for being here. It's incredible to see how many people love my dad and how many people loved us. It would make him so gratified to see all of you here. I wish he could. About 2 years ago, I read my dad a poem by Dick Allen, a really beautiful poem, and I said to him, "Dad, I love this," and he had imparted for us after years of being an English teacher, professor. He imparted for us a deep love of literature, and so there was never a time that I couldn't say to my dad, "Can I read you a poem?" Because he always wanted to hear whatever it was that I read, whatever was interesting to me, or to you or anyone who would ask you about it. So I read him this poem, and I said, "I think that I want this read at my funeral." And he said, "I want it read at mine." So touche, because you guys get to hear it here first. But we bonded so much over that. We loved wordplay, a pun, a linguistic joke. There were so many callbacks that we had together, just my dad and I, going back from things that I read or said when I was 9, 10, 11. Once, and this won't be funny to you, and that's okay, but once I was telling my dad, relating him something when I was a kid, about how I felt that some person I'd interacted with was staring at me saying, "I judge you." And the other night we were sitting at the TV watching something, and I knocked over a glass, and my dad turned to me and said, "I judge you." And we laughed so hard, as you can only laugh with someone whom you're certain has never judged you a day in your life. I would call my dad sobbing probably once a year, and I would just be stressed or disheartened or feeling really self-conscious, and I'd say, "Dad, is it gonna be a good life? Am I okay?" And my dad would always say yes. No matter how embarrassing or, I don't know, no matter the situation, my dad was always confident in my capability and confident that it would be okay, that I would be okay. He trusted me more than I trusted myself. One time we were kayaking in Nashville, just my dad and I, and we were discussing some sort of facet of nature that we didn't understand. And I said, "Well, Dad, everything that rises must converge," which didn't make sense to him at first because that's a Flannery O'Connor novel. But once I explained the joke, he did think it was very funny. And afterward, when things didn't make sense and we didn't know the answer, sometimes I would just say, "Oh, everything that rises must converge." And it felt like that this year. Everything sort of fell together. I moved. I got a job at UCF a little bit ago and was excited to move in with my parents this Christmas break, which I did. And I got to spend that Christmas break with my dad and my mom, and it was just beautiful to see. I don't think a lot of people get to see their parents fall more in love. I got to see that. And I almost felt like I was intruding on this really sacred, special time that they had together, just watching them. Whoever wakes up first makes the coffee. My dad makes the bed. And my mom also made so much magic. Sorry, I'm a little off script now. I gotta find my way back. But it was just beautiful. And my dad was the person who suggested I move back here. My dad was the person who rented the U-Haul, who drove it for me because I was afraid to drive on I-4. I think last Monday, on New Year's Eve, I took the last of my things out of my car, and on New Year's Day, I woke up, and my dad wasn't there anymore. I did get to see him in the hospital before he passed, but I didn't really get to speak with him, and it's not, I'm grateful I got to tell him I loved him, but it's not really the way that you want your dad to go. Bring it back to Flannery O'Connor, who died very young. She was diagnosed with lupus, which was the same diagnosis her father had before he passed. And when she had received that diagnosis, she wrote to a friend, "I can, with one eye squinted, take it all as a blessing." A quote that I recently shared with my dad. And that's how I feel about being my dad's daughter. There are so many hard things about losing your champion. I can't believe we all have to do this. But over the last week, we've been given so many pictures and stories about our dad, and they are gifts to us, and we're so grateful for those of you who have shared your memories, your love. I'll never make a new memory with my dad here with me, but you give us all the chance to see him in a new light and to appreciate him again and again. At my sister's wedding, my dad gave a really beautiful speech about the Celtic idea of thin spaces, which received like a standing ovation. It was great. And then I said, "You can't just recycle that for my wedding." And he said, "Why not?" But I'll recycle it now a little bit. The idea of a Celtic space, or a thin space, is that there are moments in time, gatherings of community, where the veil between the earthly realm and the spiritual are porous. And when we danced at my sister's wedding, it felt like heaven and earth were celebrating with us. My dad loved that. He found poetry in the ordinary. Every walk in the wetlands, every morning that we all just sat around and had coffee and cake in the garden together. He felt spiritually connected with community and nature. And I know that the future will hold so much sadness and grief for us, but I also hope it will hold thin spaces, moments where our collective memories and our collective love and appreciation for my dad makes it feel like he's here in the room with us. A sunrise or a walk or a Christmas morning, where the distance between here and the hereafter feels like nothing. His best qualities were reflected in his relationships, which is where we'll see him. His friends, like him, were kind, compassionate, curious, deeply appreciative of small moments and exchanges, as is reflected by the many really small instances that people have told us about, not just significant stories of my dad, but ordinary moments that felt magical or special because of the person he was and the person you all are, the people you all are. I see him in my siblings and my mom, my brother who's been there for us all week, finding something to fix, some way to help. My dad was like that. He loved being Yannick's main correspondent the last year or so, and I heard more about the hikes that Yannick was going on from my dad. I don't think Yannick and I've ever talked about this, but I know what you're up to all the time because Dad tells me. And he really loved, my dad appreciated quiet time, the outdoors. Yannick is like that. They're both always reading. They're both the first to have politics enter the family group chat. So, my brother's daughter, Amelie, is also so much like our dad. She's quiet and thoughtful. She's always noticing everything, so observant. My sister is an incredible mom. My dad would always tell me he was just so in awe of what she would do with her kids. He would describe in detail an afternoon on the swings, a conversation he heard Mia have with Juniper or Oaks. He loved seeing her family, and it meant so much to him to be invited to be a part of their daily life. Junie has Opa's joy for everything, as does Oaks. You've never seen two kids more vocally delighted in things. I love seeing that. He loved Juniper's creativity, which is also so much like my mom's, which my dad was also astonished by. When I would visit them in Nashville, every visit there was, "You've got to see what your mom did," and it was a painting she'd done or a way that she'd rearranged the kitchen pantry. My dad, who did not have vision, was always really reluctant to see these changes made, but then the first to celebrate her ingenuity in all of us. I'm so grateful to have my family here. I'm so grateful to have all of you, and I'm grateful for the ways that my dad will show up. I wish I could say something kind for each of you about the ways that you meant something to my dad, but I know that you did. I know he'd be so grateful for your love for him, for your love for our family. And I forgot August, but baby August and Magnolia, who's on the way. My dad just relished their becoming. He loved that moment where you would see the baby kind of develop their own personality and call me to tell me about any little thing that August did. And it's gonna be hard now not to have those calls with my dad. But the mystery is that we are connected, even when we feel apart. And if you would all just take a breath with me before I read this poem, I would really appreciate that. If we could just take a second, breathe in and out. Oh, I turn on airplane mode, so give me a second here. This is called If You Get There Before I Do by Dick Allen. And I think my dad would appreciate it, or did appreciate about it, because we had a small discussion. We mentioned that he found spirituality in so many ordinary things and from so many different directions, and this poem kind of speaks to that. Air out the linens, unlatch the shutters on the eastern side, and maybe find that deck of bicycle cards lost near the sofa, or maybe walk around and look out the back windows first. I hear the views magnificent, old silent pines leading down to the lakeside, layer upon layer of magnificent light. Should you be hungry, I'm sorry, but there's no Chinese takeout, which he would have hated. Only a general store. You passed it coming in, but you probably didn't notice it's one weird gas pump, along with all those Esso cans from decades ago. If you're somewhat confused, think Vermont, that state where people are folded into the mountains like berries in batter. What I'd like when I get there is a few hundred years to sit around and concentrate on one thing at a time. I'd start with radiators and work my way up to Master Eckhart. Or why do so few people turn their lives around? So many take small steps into what they never do. The first weeks, the first lessons, until they choose something other, beginning their lives, so never knowing what it's like to risk last-minute failure. I'd save blue for last, Klein blue, or the blue of Crater Lake on an early June morning. That would take decades. Don't forget to sway the fence gate back and forth a few times, just for its creaky sound. When you swing and the tires swing, make sure your socks are off. You've forgotten, I expect, the feeling of feet brushing the tops of sunflowers. In Vermont, I once met a ski bum on a summer break who had followed the snows for 7 years and planned on at least 7 more. We're here for the enjoyment, he said. To salam and to joy. I expect you'll find Bibles scattered everywhere, or Talmuds, or Qurans, as well as little snippets of gospel music, chants, old Advent calendars with their paper doors still open. You might pay them some heed. Don't be alarmed when what's familiar starts fading, as gradually you lose your bearings. Your body seems to turn opaque and then transparent, until finally it's invisible. What old age rehearses us for, and vacations in the limbo of the Middle West. Take it easy, take it slow. When you think I'm on my way, the long middle passage done, fill the pantry with cereal, curry, and blue and white boxes of macaroni. Place the checkerboard set, or chess if you insist, out on the flat top stump beneath the porch's shadow. Pour some lemonade into the tallest glass you can find in the cupboard. Then drum your fingers, practice lifting your eyebrows, until you tell them all, the skeptics, the bigots, blind neighbors, those damn with faint praise critics on their hobby horses, that I'm allowed. And if there's a place for me that love has kept protected, I'll be coming too. Thank you all for being here.
Beautiful reflections from such a beautiful family. Thank you for that. That was quite a gift. This is a reading from Spirit Wheel, Meditations from an Indigenous Leader. It's written by the Reverend Steve Charleston. It's entitled, My Strength is in My Faith. My strength is in my faith. I will not wave in my trust that whatever may come, in the end, the Spirit of goodness and mercy will be waiting for me on the other side. My strength is in my faith. I will not be resigned to the idea that a pale approximation of freedom is all that we can hope for, but insist that justice alone is our future as a diverse family. My strength is in my faith. I will not surrender to any illness, even those that may take my life, but continue to believe our tomorrow is eternal. My strength is in my faith. I will not bend my knee to despair, but love and love always, even if the stars should desert the sky and earth hide her beauty from the sun. Still, I will know and love always, until my love is so much a part of my life that I can no longer tell where one ends and the other begins. Would you please stand as you are able and let us sing together, "It Is Well With My Soul," and remain standing for the responsive reading. invite you now to engage in our responsive reading, Benedictus. In your leaving, we say peace. With the last light of you dying, we say peace. And where there is no peace, we say peace in the hope it will rest in our bones. In your going, we say joy. With the last breath of you leaving, we say joy. And where there is no joy, we say joy in the hope it will dwell in our flesh. In your departing, we say love. With the earth taking you in, we say love. And where there is no love, we say love in the hope it will come to our souls. Our final hymn this day is Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee. It is my understanding that it is the German custom to have coffee and cake after funeral services. So you are all invited to come out to our parish hall, go out the doors and to your right, and it'll be over on your left. Please come and join us if you would. Let us depart in peace. Thanks be to God.